Hi everyone, and welcome to our daily show, The Big Story, where we discuss the hottest topics of the day right here in the heart of the newsroom. My name is Alyssa Wu, and I'm coming to you live from the Straits Times. We are streaming live right now on Facebook and YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube, do subscribe to our page and click that bell button to be notified whenever we go live. I'll be joined very shortly by my newsroom colleagues, where we'll discuss the topics that got you talking today. For our first story, users of voice-activated Google devices might want to know that, yes, your conversations are being recorded. But according to Google, these recordings are necessary to improve its software's understanding of various languages. I have here with me tech journalist Haris, here to elaborate on it a bit more. Hi Haris.
Hi.
Right. So what activates the recording process?
Okay, so these devices like your Google Home, or essentially devices that have Google Assistant, or even your Siri types of things, use this thing called a wake word to essentially wake up and start recording your voice to decide what you want to do. So for example, if let's say I say, hey Google, or okay Google, show me what's the weather like today. So Google will know that after whatever I say, hey Google, then the instruction comes later. So that part is the one that's recorded by the machine, the device, to help you carry out whatever task you want it to do. Yeah.
So is it the whole phrase, hey Google, or just the words like, hey, it's enough to activate that?
It depends on what phrase you set it to, but the default, from what I know, is hey Google. Yeah.
I understand. So who then has access to these recordings, and why would they have access to them?
So when you agree to use a Google Assistant, whether it being Google Home, Google Nest Hub recently launched, or even your phone when you go hey Google, you are essentially agreeing to letting Google take some of your data to make its products better. There's nothing illegal about this. It's actually part of the terms and conditions when you agree to use the service. But according to the news, it seems that a portion of this is sent to contractors or third-party vendors to improve it, like you mentioned. So Google has actually come out to say that language experts review about 0.2% of all audio snippets that its assistant records. But Google also added that these snippets are not associated with its user accounts. So that means essentially that the snippets that they recorded can't be traced back to you, and they can't say, oh, that means I play this, I know Haris is talking. No, I don't think it works that way. At least that's what they're saying.
And this is an issue because, like you mentioned, these recordings are accessed by third-party people, and we know that they're doing this because it was actually leaked by a man in Europe.
Yes, a Belgian reporter, I think. Yeah, so what the news essentially is that this Belgian journalist, he got hold of about 1,000 snippets of these recordings that Google had sent to its vendor, its third-party vendor, to conduct whatever processes it was conducting to essentially make its language perception abilities better. So out of these 1,000 over records, about more than 10%, 153 of them actually should not have been recorded, apparently. He said because the machine accidentally picked up the recording, even though the wake word wasn't used. So I would imagine instead of saying, hey Google, it might have been something like, hey Google, or some kind of permutation that the machine or the device thought that was meant for it. This is dangerous because when you agree to use Google Assistant, you're agreeing to let Google record your instructions, but not anything else. So, you never know what could Google be picking up.
Therein lies the danger.
Yeah, so, and Google doesn't have a good track record of essentially protecting user privacy data. I mean, I'm sure it has had its ups and downs, but I think at the start of the year, I think Google was fined about 50 million euros by the French Data Protection Authority for essentially not properly disclosing to its users how data is collected across its services, and this refers to like your YouTube, Google Maps, that kind of thing, to present personalized advertisements. So I guess having tighter regulations like the GDPR now might help. It does seem like they're playing catch up right now. Of course, I know it's easier said than done, right? I mean, who am I to say that what's not to do for Google? But I feel that maybe moving forward, when new products or new services are introduced, security should be thought of from the start, I think, as opposed to what we have now, where we have the product and it's out there, people are using it, and then you realize all these loopholes are out there. So is it a case of too little too late? I'm not sure, but hopefully moving forward we can better prioritize security, I think.
Okay, thank you so much, Haris.
No
So
worries.
what this means, I think we should all then take the time to read the terms and conditions, right? Before saying we agree. Right.
Yeah.
Now, for our second story, it was a showdown between two tennis greats during the men's singles finals at the Wimbledon Championships on Sunday. Novac Djokovic defeated Roger Federer in 5 sets to win his 5th Wimbledon title. Now, with the match clocking in at 4 hours and 57 minutes, it is the longest Wimbledon final of all time. So certainly there was a lot of heightened emotions and a lot of tension. Now, I have here with me Rohit. He's our assistant sports editor, to talk more about the match. Hi, Rohit.
Hey, hi, nice to be here.
Right. So what were you feeling and thinking as you were watching the match in real time?
I mean, I think it was a match of growing and terrific emotion, because I think, you didn't know which way it was going to go. And I think that's how you want matches to be sort of going one way, the momentum, and then the other way, and then you're testing both players and they're both trying to, find the best from each other and the best from themselves. And it was a bit edgy because I think there's a lot of emotion involved, and unlike Federer and Nadal, who really get on very well, between Federer and Djokovic, there's a little bit of an edgy relationship. I think possibly because Djokovic has beaten him too many times in big finals. And this is a big chance for Federer, obviously, because he's going to be 38 next month, and he needed to win this because his chances are fewer.
So did Roger said he's going to retire soon? Is that why, or it's just that the time is shorter for him to win his?
No, he's not going to retire. I just think, I think he's going to play as long as he wants to play, and I think people really enjoy him. I mean, he's a big favorite, but I just think that younger guys are eventually going to come up, and I think this game is very physical. It is an incredibly physical game. Federer has a very easy style, and because he has the easy style, he has less injuries, but the fact is you're going to be 38, and that's hard to play at that high level all the time when you're at that age.
Now, during the match, it seemed at some point that most of the crowd, they were cheering for Federer instead of Djokovic. Do you have anything to comment on that?
Okay, so this is not a surprise, but it's something that Djokovic doesn't really like. So I think that the first thing you have to realize is that Federer is really beloved wherever he goes, right? And it's extraordinary. Sometimes, he could be playing people in their own home country and there are more people cheering for him. And I think yesterday almost everybody was for him. And I think Djokovic struggles with that a little bit. I think maybe because Federer and Nadal started off first and had this rivalry, and Federer is this very graceful man, and Nadal is this brilliant, beautiful bull. And they have these personalities, and they are very charismatic, and they're very nice people. And so is Djokovic. And I think people are attracted to them. And then Djokovic comes, and then he's trying to obviously beat these guys, which is his job. But Djokovic is a very efficient player, rather than necessarily a charismatic one. And I think, anyway, with Federer, everybody loves him, and everybody in England loves him, and everybody's cheering for him. And that's very difficult for Djokovic. And I thought he behaved very well and conducted himself well. It's a tough thing to do, because you're not just beating Federer, you're also beating the crowd.
So why do we, why are we so attached to these athletes? I mean, we don't know them personally, and they're just fighting for maybe their own glory, right?
I think yesterday was a good example that, we look at these people and we admire them. And even I've been doing this for over 30 years. I was astonished yesterday at what they are able to do, at their willingness to keep pushing. And, sport has tremendous tension in it, and I think, okay, let's just look at Federer. I've got so few chances left. I've got to play well. I'm older. My body's going to be hurting. After the Nadal match, he said he was exhausted. But they're still going in it, they'll have a bad game and they'll wipe it away, the disappointment, and, they may be anxious and they'll wipe that away, and they gather their resolve and they gather their courage, and they come again and again at each other, testing each other, throwing ideas at each other. It is the most fantastic thing to watch. It tells you these are things, you think, okay, I know why I admire these people, because they do things that I can't do.
Now, earlier when we were talking, you were saying that there are many different measures for sports, for different sports, and some of them you can't see, it's not quantifiable. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, sure. So I think one of the things is that there are so many statistics in sport today. So if you just look at tennis, they will tell you first serve percentage, second serve percentage, there are aces, there are double faults, there are speed, there's how many kilometers you run. And so those are important things, you break down a game. But really for me, the most important things in sport, and which is why we keep going back to watch sport, are the things you can't measure. It's like there's no number for courage, but courage is important. Grit is important, resolve is important, fitness is important. And some of these things you can't measure. It's just what that person brings out on a particular day. That, I think Djokovic, and you have to give him tremendous credit. The crowd is against him. Federer was playing better than him all match. And he still won because he just showed a certain nerve and a certain firmness and a certain fortitude. You can't measure those things, but they are beautiful things to see.
Now, one last question before I let you go. Can you sum up the whole match in one word? Yeah, I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm a guy who writes long sentences. For me, one word is difficult. I would say emotional.
Emotional. Well, thank you, Rohit. So that was Rohit, our assistant sports editor, and he will be writing a commentary which will be on straitstimes.com later today. Now, those were our top stories for today. For more news and videos, do head on to straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Alyssa. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place.